time will prove. Yes, only time will prove if I have lost my way. 'Cause I hear tell about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for basements. Yeah, I lost my way, but I hear tell about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for basements.
Hi, everyone. Frankie here. New West Reset. Hello. How's it going? Great to see all of you. Thank you very much for shooting in, joining a guy here for another live stream. Appreciate it very much. Fellas, highly appreciative. New West Reset Live, episode 28 here on Friday, August 25th, 25er. August 25er. 7 p.m. local time out here in Calgary, Alberta, up in Canada, eh, Bod? Oh, for sure, eh? Pretty nice day today. Currently 22 degrees on the Celsius scale. So that's, I don't know, about 76 degrees Fahrenheit is, I guess. I don't know. Something like that. Anyway, it was nice today. A little windy, but the blue skies, that slight wind blew away the smoke from the still ongoing wildfires, forest fire. I don't really like the term wildfires because I don't think that wild to me conjures images that they occurred naturally because it was really dry, and then the lightning strike hit and caused a spark, and then a flame came, and there was a bit of a wind blowing it in just the right direction that, then it caused a fire, right? And then it happens. It does happen, for sure there, bud. But I don't think these fires that happen, I mean, they're pretty much, at this point, most Canadians have resigned themselves to the fact that they're annually now in the summer. California, much the same. We've seen in recent years Australia, recently also England, which you wouldn't think of as having forest fires, but yep. Where else? Excuse me if I'm drawing a blank here. I don't mean to miss anybody out on this stuff, but I don't know. When a guy can set his watch practically to when there's going to be fires, come on, man. Anyway, I'm blathering. I hope you're doing well. Thanks again for joining me here for New West Reset Live. Before I blather on any further, what are we talking about here tonight? Bygone greatness. I thought we'd have a look at some old world structures that no longer exist right here in the city of Calgary, where my stomping grounds. We've done past live streams of cool old buildings that are still standing, a lot of them being centered around Stephen Avenue, 8th Avenue Southwest, downtown there. And recently I did a 1 hour-ish mud flood walking tour to celebrate 1,000 subscribers. Vincent over in the chat there, actually down there, Vincent down in the chat, was kind enough to join me for that one, and we saw a lot of the buildings then, boots on the ground. But I rarely show buildings that have been already destroyed here in Calgary. I think I've shown one or two. The little thingy up at the top in the corner here, that photo of the cow standing on the dirt road right in the middle of downtown Calgary. That I get a kick out of every time because it's so freaking stupid. But anyway, the building that's on the left, close to where the cow is, where the cow's in front of that building, sort of. I think that's the Mackenzie block. That's not there anymore. But anyway, thought we'd have a look at some bygone greatness, old buildings, so bust out your tissues, your Kleenex, whatever. There's not going to be a dry eye in the house when a fellow's finished with this, because there were some beautiful, beautiful old world buildings that, bye, in the name of progress, they wrecking ball them or dynamite them or destroy them, or some of them in the Great Calgary Fire, of course, the fire, right? We're all well aware of these 1500-degree fires that somehow can destroy brick and stone structures. But yeah. Anyway, that's what we're doing. How you doing? How's it going, Vince? How are you, sir? Good to see you. Steve is here. TPR, Tartarian Prog Rocker. Steve O'Donnell. Steve O. Oh, look at this. We got a new friend over here, folks. Look at this, eh? Welcome. Good to see you. How's it going, eh, bud? Old World Micmac. Shout out from East Coast Canada, Maritimes. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm an Easterner my own self. I'm a Westerner now. Lived in Calgary for 43 years, but born in Montreal, Quebec. Lived there till I was 10. Then we made our way westward, and parents in the front seat of the Chevy pulling the camping trailer across Canada. We drove on the Trans-Canada Highway. That's a whole other story. I wish I had the brain I have now back then when I was 10, hostage in the back seat of the car on a hot August summer driving across Canada. No air conditioning, 1976 Chevy Impala, pulling a 19-foot trailer. Yeah, that was fun. Anyways, welcome. Good to see you, Old World Micmac. I dig that name, man. I dig that. That's cool. There we go. Terry's here, everybody. Good to see you, Terry. Happy Friday. Yeah, happy Friday. Our old friend hidden at plain sight from the Netherlands. Hope everything's going well over there, my friend. Thanks for shooting in. Appreciate it. Internet person. I feel like I should use HAL 9000 voice from 2001: A Space Odyssey when I say your name. I don't know why. Really, it should be Dave, right? What are you doing, Dave? Dave, I can feel it, Dave. I can feel my mind going. But I feel like using that voice for an internet person. Hello, internet person. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I don't know. Title's here. Three fingers. Howdy, sir. Welcome. Should have been radio, eh? Well, I definitely got the face for it. Well, hey! Boom. Guy's got a face for radio. That's what I'm saying. Anyway. If you can, do a fellow a favor. Do one of these for me. Give me the old like. Give a thumbs up the live stream for me. Just kind of helps with the algorithm and all that. And I don't ask often. I usually only ask just on these live streams, just because there might be some new folks here and they want to check out what's going on over there with old Frankie Fingers. What's happening over there, this New West Reset shenanigans. And so if you're new and you're considering subscribing, please do so. That'd be nice, Said it before. I'm not going to hold you over the coals or anything. I'm not going to, But if you're on the fence, then hey, why not? Why not subscribe? I don't know. It's the lousiest sales pitch ever. But anyways, I'm trying to make my way to 1,200 subs, so that'd be cool. And of course, descriptions to all the links for everything down in the description box below for the MeWe, the BitChute. Shout out to all my shooters over there at BitChute. I got like 33 people over there on the BitChutes already. That's fantastic. And I'm on the Rumble now. And I think I've got 4 folks over on the Rumble. So if you want to give me a visit over on the Rumble, make it 5, then a guy can start broadcasting these here live streams simulcast simultaneously here on the HooTubes and then over on the Rumbles there, the Rumble, where they fight over there, the fighting channel. Anyway. What's going on? What's going on? Hot off the presses here, kids. Hot off the hot off the wire, hot off the telegraph wire. Some kind of mud flood in the south of the Netherlands today. Really enormous amount of rain. It's like floods, landslides. That's not good. I'm sorry to hear that. That is not good. You be careful out there, please. Be careful. There's flooding going on. Yep. If it's not one thing, it's the other extreme, right? If it's not dryness and fires, out of control fires, then it's excessive moisture and flooding. There was flooding recently over in the Nova Scotia region, speaking of the Maritimes. So I hope our buddy, Old World Micmac, doing okay over there. But I believe it was in and around Halifax and area. So, yeah. Get a tippy toe around this stuff. A guy's got to be careful, Got to be careful out there, people. I'm not one of these tinfoil hat wearing doomsday prepper type people, but it is. I'm a Boy Scout, okay? Or I was. I'd be at 53. I'd be the oldest Boy Scout ever. They're like, yeah, he's still hanging around. Yep, he's still paying his dues. 50 cents. No, he's not the scout leader. He's still a scout. Just likes it, I guess. Anyway, I don't know. I was a Boy Scout. So, be prepared. Be preparedness of mind, preparedness mindset. You want to cover your food, water, shelter, security. You want to have a bit of a plan. You want to have like short term, medium term. You want to do the micro, meso, macro, right? The short term, medium term, long term. With your non-perishable foods and a way to procure and purify water, all that stuff. Have a get out of Dodge real quick, like your hair's on fire plan too, if you have to. In various different sub plans, whether you're going to hunker down or bug out, right? If such and such goes down, I can hunker down. If such and such goes down, I got to get the hell out of here. Right? So, stuff like that. Just, you got a spare tire in the trunk of your car when you drive around, right? Just in case. You're not hoping for a flat. You're not even planning to have a flat. You've just got it there in case you get a flat, right? Oh, that's the first time I've heard that one. That's the first time I've heard that one. Oh, man, could you imagine? You would see the viewership drop instantly. It would just be like, that's pretty funny, though. Yeah, I'm kind of like a low-level Jim Henson over here. I got all the hand movements, but there's no Muppet or puppet. Michael Joshua Lewis in the house. MJL, how are you, sir? Oh, man, that's pretty funny. Oh, you're one of my Rumbles listeners. Thank you. It's more anonymous now that I've just put it all over the screen for everybody to read. Oopsie daisy. Michigan too, eh? Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, Halifax, Nova Scotia being almost completely surrounded by the ocean. You know, we get a lot of rain, get some chop from the sea, and it can happen. And in around the Great Lakes, I suppose too. Sure, Michigan and Illinois and was it Iowa? Is Iowa? I'm sorry. You'll have to forgive my lack of American geography prowess. I barely know where everything is in Canada, for crying out loud. Oh man, I still can't get over that. That's pretty funny. Wow, you made a fella cough over here. Now I'm starting to sound like an old prospector. Get me a mule. Name him Number 7. Come on, Lucky Number 7. Go panning for gold. Ohio. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, where Cleveland is, right? Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I should know that. A guy should know that. Come on. Vincent says he'd still tune in. Well, it's funny, that it started maybe, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe even as long as 2 years ago now. A few of you fine folks and good friends there in the comments section start calling me Frankie Fingers. I mean, I kind of do this. I'll tell you the deal with this, okay? Doing this. It's because most of my content's boots on the ground, right? So I'm pointing stuff out. But as I'm describing it, I was using colorful language, and I kind of talk with my hands a lot anyways. So I would kind of do funny little things. I'd say, oh, yeah, these 2 rows of glass or arch windows here, and I would do this, right, to show 2 as I was showing them, or if I thought something was fancy, I'd be like, ooh, look how fancy. And it just kind of, so people start calling me Frankie Fingers. And with doing the live streams, I try to maintain, at least for now, a certain level of anonymity, right? But I didn't want to have just my logo, just my avatar, my little clock just there. There's nothing to look at. So I thought, well, I'll put the camera on, but there's still not much time. I got some old stuff that I put in the background, so I kind of thought, well, I'll do the fingers thing like I do in my boots on the ground videos. So it's just a thing, a nickname, Frankie Fingers. It kind of stuck. Yeah, totally. Frankie Fingers. It's totally Canadian marketing. Hey, who's that over there, bud? Hey, shh, be quiet. Okay, that's Frankie Fingers there, eh? Don't want to mess with him there. Eh? He's with the Bonanno family here. Whoever's up in Canada for the mob. I think Toronto and Montreal have 2 different families, 2 different La Cosa Nostra families. I don't know. But yeah, it's a thing. I don't know. Those of you that have embraced it, thank you. There's a lot of people that hate it. You wouldn't believe how many comments have been like, stop with your fingers and the hand. Get it out of there. I mean, I don't cover up what I'm pointing out. Like, let's say I was pointing out the lens to this camera, right? I don't do this. Look at the lens on that camera. Look how cool that is. No, yeah, But I have fun with it. I like to have fun with it. We like to have fun over here. That's why I think you folks in the chat are a great bunch. Thank you very much. All of you have been supporting me. You get it, and you get me. And, we have a lot of fun. We look at some serious shit over here, eh? But it doesn't mean we have kind of fun doing it and goof around a little bit, At least that's how I look at it. And speaking of Frankie Fingers, got a little something here for you folks. Just a little something I've been working on. I think it's appropriate with the whole finger puppet, drawing a face on the index finger. So yeah, check this out. This is a little bit of Frankie Fingers right here. Boom, boom, boom. What do you mean? Frankie Fingers is New West Reset? Frankie Fingers is New West Reset. What don't you understand about this over here, okay? I'm trying to tell you. Frankie Fingers, New West Reset. New West Reset, Frankie Fingers, okay?
So what you're saying is it's the same guy. Same guy. Yes, it's the same guy, you mutt. I'm trying to tell you. Frankie Fingers is New West Reset. Frankie Fingers, New West Reset. All right, I'll go subscribe. All right. Jeez.
There we go. Just have a little fun. Just have a little fun. Just having some fun over here, eh? What's the matter with you? That's right. We gotta laugh to keep from crying. We gotta laugh to keep from crying. Although we are gonna do some boo-hooing real quick here, right about now. Funk Show Brother, check it out now. Where'd that come from? Anyway, we're gonna do some crying here because we're gonna look at some beautiful old world architecture, or what I suspect was old world architecture. Funny how, Henry? Huh? What the fuck is so funny about me? Tell me. Am I a clown? I amuse you? I'm here to amuse you? Huh? Anyway. Yeah, we're going to go from laughing to crying right quick here, but I found this website, and this is kind of what got the whole thing rolling. Aside from coming across plaques and different things and doing my boots on the ground where there used to be a building there and they put a plaque there and they've got a picture, like a photo engraving, I guess you would call it, or however they do that, of, the previous building that was there. And a lot of times I look at them and be like, geez, I wish that thing was still here. Look at that. That's a beaut. Like, why did you tear that down? Why would you? Right? So I kind of, after a while, I'm like, what did I miss out on already? Because even just since I've started this channel, there's about 5 buildings that I've shot boots on the ground footage of, where we do a little loop-de-loo, looky-loo around the place. And, we're finding bricked up, half-buried mud flood windows or buried arched windows. And those buildings have been knocked down already just in the last 2-ish years, which is redonkulous and ridiculous. It's all the lusciousnesses. Anyway, it's an article from Avenue Magazine here in Calgary. Lost 8 historic buildings that have been demolished. There's an attention grabber right there. It's like, oh no, here we go. Break out the Kleenex. Break out the Kleenex. Break out the Kleenex even, there, bot. Old streetcar barns, Gotham City style scrapers. Let's say it. It's easy for you to say. Covered in gargoyles and an official civil defense bunker are just a few of the things that are no more. This one was new on me. I didn't know that there was a quote-unquote civil defense bunker buried underground in the city, although underground spaces under the city probably shouldn't surprise me. There's numerous rumors about numerous tunnels underneath the city of Calgary, which also shouldn't surprise me because it's no different than London or Paris or New York or Chicago or St. Louis or Los Angeles or Houston or Savannah or Kansas City. You name it. Sydney, Perth, Tokyo, doesn't matter, man. Anyway, one of the earliest newspapers, the Morning Albertan, editorialized in 1911 that someday in the dim and distant future, Calgary's people will seriously regret the absence of the relics of the days gone by, such as the old town hall and the like. Yeah, the first city hall, or what was the town hall before Calgary was even a city. Yeah, that's long gone. That was just a wood frame structure, but it had a beautiful, tall church spire-like bell tower in it. I couldn't even find a picture of that, to be quite honest with you. Anyway, the city has had a process in place since the 70s for evaluating heritage buildings and encouraging their preservation. And while there have been great victories, much has been lost. Imagine crossing Stephen Avenue between twin sandstone turrets. Yes, I have a photo of that. Buying vegetables in the old streetcar barns, working in a Gotham City-style skyscraper covered in gargoyles, or reliving the Cold War in an official civil defense bunker. These and other fallen relics are the Calgary that will never be. Never be or will never be again. What do you mean by that? It's weird. Oh yeah, bunkers, tunnel systems, Canada, the US, all over the world, right? But I guess we had bunkers going back to WW2 here, because I think we even had emergency evacuation plans in place going back to World War I, because Canada was part of the British Commonwealth. So whenever Great Britain picked a fight with anybody, we were automatically dragged into it over here there, eh, bot? So what happens there, eh? Well, then now we're in the crosshairs too, even though we're way over here. But yeah, bunkers. I guess that's an easy way to write off how to explain away under, tunnel systems or underground structures underneath mountains or underneath cities or under here or there, right? Oh no, that was built during the war to part of, to the defense system, the military defense system or whatever. Howdy, HD. Welcome. Good to see you. Team Heat. Oh, hey, guy. How's you going there, bot? So, all right. So, the first example they gave us Fort Calgary. Now, I did take you on a boots on the ground mud flood tour of Fort Calgary. And the example they use here is an old postcard, which is deceiving. This building is still there. It's these other buildings in the background and back over here that are no longer there. Some were torn down, some were moved, and then there was a fire. But this building, of course there was a fire. Different than the Great Calgary fire, by the way. It's a whole separate fire, of course. But this was not damaged in the fire. This is part of the original 1888 barracks. But anyway, today's Fort Calgary bears little resemblance to the original. In 1875, a wooden vertical long Northwest Mounted Police outpost established in Calgary's permanent non-Indigenous presence. The fort was soon rebuilt, including the barracks built in 1888, but the complex was razed in 1914 to make way for the railroad yards. Yeah, that's right. That's some of the buildings that were on what is now the south side of 9th Avenue, southwest. So this is now a road, an avenue, a four-lane avenue. And on the south side, which would be on the other side of this here road, used to be other buildings in this complex. The site was reclaimed in the 70s. The Interpretive Center opened in 78, followed by reconstruction of a 2003 fire destroyed the log replicas, but the rebuilt 1888 structure barracks survives. Yeah, we looked there. There was the original log fort was up on a hill, and it's gone, but they've put up sort of they were able to retrace the original footprint and the shape of it and so on from the remains after the fire. And they put in sort of a memorial thing and a sort of a artsy-fartsy version of these log poles coming out of the ground. They light up at night, and it's actually pretty nice. But anyway, but yeah, this is a little deceiving from this postcard because this is there, and it's been there since the 1880s. It was these back here, but regardless, it would have been cool to see the whole thing in its original state. And I do remember when I was a kid, the old log part, and you could take tours in through there and stuff. It was pretty neat. It looked like in the movies, right? Like in that was that movie with the guy, the guy with the face. He played. It was like a modern Pocahontas remake with Colin Farrell. Anyways, what their fort looked like, that piece of crap toothpick fort. That's what it looked like. I don't know how it burned down though. Who knows? Maybe they needed a big donation from the provincial and the federal government, so they burned it down on purpose so that they could get some money and say that they're going to rebuild it, and then they just did some artsy-fartsy thing and they pocketed the rest of the money. Who knows? I don't know if that's what they actually did. Orphan Annie, I see you there. Howdy, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. So yeah, this Alexander Corner, which had a little Bank of Montreal in it. This thing is gone, unfortunately. But look at this beaut. The conical dome and all the little pokey pokes and all this. It even looks like at this point there was something here that was removed or damaged. Maybe. I don't know. This, pretty fancy, for a city founded by the Northwest Mounted Police to protect the fur trade out here in the Wild West with the cowboys and the wild Indians and all that crazy stuff. Because when a cowboy wants to go to a bank, it's got to have cones and turrets on it. Otherwise, I ain't put my cowboy silver dollars in there. Are you crazy? But they're matching turrets on opposite sides of First Street Southwest at Stephen Avenue. Alexander Corner and the Bank of Montreal helped define Calgary as the Sandstone City. Not Stone City, Sandstone City. But there is a Stone City. When they were built in 1889. Both were raised in 1929 for an expanded Hudson's Bay department store and replacement bank. Yeah, so they tore this down to put in a department store. Built in 1889, torn down in 1929. 40 years. And the mainstream on narrative on this, the main line 411, the skinny, and why there's so many sandstone buildings in Calgary, is because there was 17 of them, 17 buildings that were burnt down in the Great Calgary Fire. No, 18. No, 19, depending on what source you look up on the interwebs. There's a plus or minus a factor of 2, apparently. They lost count, apparently. But anyway, so the narrative is Sandstone City because after the Great Calgary Fire in 1886, the mayor and the city council men got together and said, look, now, if you're going to build any building like a public building or a school, a post office, or even or a 2-story structure of any kind, a hotel, a whatever, it's got to be made out of brick or stone. And you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a sandstone around these here parts. So they opted for beautiful sandstone. So that's the narrative on why you get all of these, and it became Sandstone City. But so they go to the trouble of going through all that to prevent fires from burning down your city, even though most of it was dynamited, to make fire breaks, which is another crazy thing. But anyway, they go through all that rigmarole and trouble to do all this. And then this is only up for 40 years, 40, and then they knock her down. So they can put up a department store, which already had a location on this same avenue further down. That's the good old Hudson's Bay Fur Trading Company for you. A branch of the East India Trading Company. You know, those crown corporations. Old world exploration in the house. Howdy, Chris. Good to see you. How's she going there, bud? So yeah, that's a beautiful building, man. Whew, come on. You know, just very fancy. Look at this stonework here. They do an arch, but then they do a stonework inlay in here. And just all of this construction. Very nice. Very nice. Hull's Opera House. See, I thought Calgary had an opera house, and I'd been looking for it. And I could never find a thing. Well, it's no wonder. Knocked down in 1963. William Roper Hull. His theater could accommodate more than a quarter of Calgary's population in 1893. Of course, they don't share with you that information as to what it was. Thanks for being vague there, interwebs. Well, in 1894, there was 4,000 people. So let's generous say 4,000. So a quarter, so it could hold 1,000 people. Yeah, okay, sure, I could see that. Later eclipsed by grander venues, it was converted into stores and apartments in 1906 and demolished in 1963. The Bow Tower Parkade is now under the site. Yeah, the Bow Tower is here, I believe. And this is sort of a promenade main area leading up to the front of the big skyscraper. And underneath this is the underground parking. One wonders if the whatever underground space was beneath this beautiful old mud flutter was reappropriated and converted into underground parking. But I'm just speculating, you see. I mean, that would have made sense. And this isn't far from the Stampede grounds. This is Stephen Avenue, 8th Avenue Southwest, and roughly 2nd Street Southwest, which means it's 3 blocks west and about, basically 3 blocks west and 1 block north of the Stampede grounds. So yeah, very close. So yeah, if you were at the Stampede, you could catch a hansom cab, ride a horse and buggy cab, clippity-cloppity up to this place and see a show. Yeah, 1,000 opera buffs in a city full of cowboys, right? It's weird. I didn't realize that cowboys loved opera so much. The cowboys were cultured, let me tell you. They had to put their money in banks that had conical domes and turrets and arched windows. Otherwise, get the hell out of here with that. And they had to have an opera house. Not a music hall like the Grand Ole Opry, one would think. Nope, an opera house. Because them cowboys love the singing in Italian that none of them could probably understand. This is obviously a later picture because you could see the late 50s, early 60s cars here, and already here that's been divided into stores, cafes, and businesses, and chic electric shaver shop. Look at that. But you can see she was a beaut. Not sure what's going on here. It's awfully fancy. Up on the top there, this appears awfully fancy. But yeah, arched windows, nice inlay work here. It's too bad that's gone. Although it's already in rough shape. She's rough there, fellas. Slopes down here quite considerably too. Just here, notice now. Just now, here, now. Of course, you gotta have some portals in there, I guess. Why not? Now this place, Burns Manor. This guy was one of the big robber baron types here in Calgary. Burns Meats, which is now a nationwide company. Well, yeah, he wouldn't play hockey. Why would a bunch of Canadians play hockey, when they could go to the opera instead, eh? Yeah, Sandstone City with all its cows. Calgary's known as Sandstone City, Cow Town, and I guess the opera capital of the West. I don't know. Oh man, I just don't get it. That could be it. Maybe there was a pipe organ or some kind of somatic instrument in there that they had to explain away. So they'd say, "Oh well, it was an opera house." Yeah, yeah, that's it. Monty Burns, right? Montgomery J. Burns, Smithers. Yes. Calgary. See, now you're talking. That makes more sense, right? Just name it Calgary. Why don't you? Anyways, this Burns residence. Burns meets Francis Rattenberry, the murdered architect behind the Empress Hotel and BC Legislature buildings in Victoria, designed one Calgary building. The rancher Patrick Burns, 1903 sandstone mansion. The home became part of the Colonel Belcher Veterans Hospital in 1941 and was raised in 56. The Sheldon Schumer Healthcare Center stands on the site today. Yeah, it was this cattle beef baron guy's sandstone mansion, and it's huge, and it's a beaut, and it was on a big, massive 4-lot property, the big sandstone wall, and it was super fancy. This place was just. But of course, they had to. Then later on, it was converted to a hospital. But then they had to tear it down to build a hospital. So that old story, where they tear down a hospital to build a. What's that thing? Oh yeah, you got it. A hospital. But then in other narratives, they'll show you a beautiful mental institution, and they'll say, well, the aesthetic beauty helped to put the ill-minded at ease. Well, what about the physically ill? Wouldn't the beautiful aesthetic help in their healing process? So if you grow out of a place like this, just build a new structure adjacent that's connected rather than tearing it down to build another one. But hey, that makes too much sense, I guess. Yeah, the murdered architect thing. It's I know, right? It's shocking. That's how they start with the whole blurb about the Burns Manors. They started off right out of the gates with there was this architect that was murdered. Then you're like, holy smokes, what did he do? Well, that's not important. We're just going to tell you that he designed one building in Calgary. Yeah, okay. Well, he was from Victoria. Why would I even assume that he designed buildings for Calgary? I don't know. But you got to come at me with this whole thing, and then you don't even explain. I to be honest, I didn't even look it up either. I was like, I don't know. Okay. This place is another one. This is a beauty too. It kind of looks like the old opera house, in a lot of ways. With the sort of the frontage of the building and then the extremely sloped roof line. I mean, you can see the snow on the ground. So the more I can't remember I think it's 35 degrees or 37 degrees or something is the perfect pitch for the most optimal water runoff and watershed and snow shed and whatever. I don't know. But anyways, I wish this place was still here. I love old trains, as many of you know, old streetcars as well. This thing built in 1909 and later expanded. The barn sheltered the city streetcars at night and included cleaning, painting, and repair shops. Streetcars were phased out in the 1940s, and the barns were subsequently demolished. So there's no parking lot. Yeah. So you couldn't have made it an indoor parking structure and repurposed it and then just repurpose all the surrounding area for outdoor parking. No, you got to knock it down. Bunch of freaking. This was another one that I wish was still around. You can see the Palliser Hotel here in the background, which I've covered on the channel before and done some boots on the ground. And that's going to be a lead up to tomorrow. That's right. My buddy Chris in the chat, Old World Exploration. He and I have a monthly show, the Knuckleheads show, where we do deep dives and look into Canadian cities and wacky, unusual Canadian stuff. Because we're a couple of Canucks, eh? A couple of Knuckleheads. And yeah, tomorrow is our 5th episode of the Knucklehead Show. And we're going to be looking at old world hotels, much like this Palliser Hotel in the background, which was a railway hotel. That's right, yeah, Knuckleheads. Knuckleheads. It's a good show. So, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're going live tomorrow at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 2 p.m. Pacific. So I think it's 5 p.m. Eastern. So this was the CP Rail main station for downtown Calgary. Gave you quick access to the, as mentioned, the hotel, which is a CP Rail hotel. So it was the city's 3rd CPR station. It was constructed between 1910 and 1912. And it was pulverized in 19... Jeez, strong language in this article. It was pulverized in 1966 to make way for the Calgary Tower, and Palliser Square. The stone complex was the point of arrival for countless immigrants and the scene of many sad partings and joyous reunions. Yeah, a lot of people coming out to the New West here in Calgary, Alberta, the gateway to the New West, gateway to the Rockies. This is where they would have disembarked at the main station. So this is what they're losing their minds about on all those sentences early in the article about the Gotham City style with the gargoyles. This is one of the buildings they're talking about. This is the old Calgary Herald building, the old newspaper building. It's actually the Southam building. And the company that built these buildings, they actually built 2 of them. So there's some confusion amongst some people on the interwebs, I noticed when I was looking into this, as to which one was which. But the taller of the 2 towers was the Calgary Herald building. But anyway, again, a postcard shot. But I did manage to find a photo of it. But this is all red brick, and then all of these little inlays here are all sandstone. And then you can see there's gargoyles there, and there's gargoyles up here, and then you got to have like another castle on the top, apparently, for some reason. I don't know if that's supposed to represent a temple or I don't know what, but and then your big arches all along here. So in 1913, the Calgary Herald's parent company built 2 gargoyle-clad office blocks opposite sides of First Street. Each in turn housed the Herald for a time. So that was the confusion as to, and they were demolished in different times too, I think. So that was part of the confusion as well. Anyways, most of the Royal Dalton terracotta figurines were damaged when they were removed from the Western building for 1966 renovation, though most were saved when the Eastern Tower was raised in 73. The Southam buildings were replaced by the Lenwary building and Brookfield Place. Brookfield Place is an office tower. So, they'll tear down an office tower to build an office tower. So you can see how, as we progress in time further and further away from these dates, this is going to become even more convoluted and confusing, because there was actually two buildings, but the newspaper was housed in both at one point, one then the other. And then they were destroyed at different times. And actually, one was refaced in brutalist style first, and then it was knocked down in 73. Oh, yeah, that's what it would have had, man. A lot of these old office buildings had those vacuum tube mail systems. Yep, yeah. In fact, they went between buildings. Which is pretty efficient, pretty neat system. Yeah, I'd heard that before too, Team Heat, that Canada's name is Phoenician and comes from the land of Canaan, or Canaan land, Canaanite. Yeah. They try to tell us it was a mispronunciation of Kanata, which is, I don't know, a Ojibwa word or something that meant village or something, but yeah, I don't know. Right? I mean, Canada's old. Canada's often forgotten or written off as being too young to have buildings like this be considered as part of the investigation into the narrative. Because what, 1867, and what, 100 years before that maybe, and that's it. But there have been colonies here since the 1600s, early 1600s. In terms of New World European colonists, British, French, Scottish, Irish. So here it is, the Civil Defense Control Center, the underground bunker. So apparently in 1954, so I guess anticipating the Cold War, the city built a command center under the Shaganappi Golf Course to coordinate Calgary's evacuation in the event of a nuclear attack. The facility couldn't withstand a nuclear blast, but it did have a kitchen. Oh, thank God it had a kitchen, so at least I could make myself a cup of tea while the supposed nukes are dropping on me, and this thing can't even withstand the nukes. Why would you even build an underground command center under a golf course? So there it is. And that golf course is like 4 blocks away from me. I should go and look. Well, it's a private course. They won't let a bum like me on there. But a guy should have a peekaboo and a looky-loo, at least around the perimeter of the place. But anyway, yeah, ain't that funny? It's always golf courses too, right? Golf courses built on top of star forts. Who knows? So, hey, potential old star fort, they're saying was a command center built in 54? Maybe. Who knows? Anyways, yeah, they built this thing for the Cold War in case of a nuclear attack, but it couldn't withstand a nuclear blast. But it did have a kitchen. What the hell? Like that's a big selling point. But it had a kitchen, so everything's going to be fine post-nuclear annihilation. So there you go, Avenue Magazine. Link in the description if you want to go back and have a look at that and giggle your ass off. Oh, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Yeah. Golf courses hide a lot of things. National parks, state parks, provincial parks. We call them up here in Canada provincial parks. And then we have national parks. Right, because it's restricted access, animal sanctuaries, animal wildlife preserves, all that kind of stuff. Right, you can't just hump your backpack in there with a tent and spend 2 weeks in there camping and hiking around in there. They're like, no, you got to stay on the marked trails. The park closes at 10 p.m. or whatever, right? And it's like, take it easy there, Mr. Ranger. Hey, easy, Mr. Ranger. Hey. Oh, for sure there, bud. You know, a guy's gonna have some a beer fridge in the kitchen there, hey, bud. Gonna load it up with some Molson Canadian, maybe some Labatt beer. Yep, those two wetlands, reservoirs. Yeah, I think they've sunk in a lot of towns under reservoirs. There's a lot of reservoirs and so-called man-made lakes, if you will, that have towns or small cities with old world brick buildings and stuff under them. That's why I was kind of thinking that if Fort Calgary wasn't an old star fort that was repurposed, that maybe either the Glenmore Reservoir here in Calgary, which is our reservoir, uh, the star fort sunken underneath that, or maybe the golf course, Shaganappy Golf Course, which is, like I said, like 3-4 blocks away from me. And it's funny that they're saying that there was a underground command center built under the golf course. So was the golf course already there and they built the command center under it, or did they build the command center and then put the golf course on top? I'm actually just going to pull that article up again for a second, just to double check the wording on that, because I mean, not like it really matters but in 1954, the city built a command center under Shaganappy Golf Course. So they're trying to tell us the golf course was already there, and they built the command center under the golf. Why, of all places, why under there? Why that spot? I mean, they could have built it under Nose Hill, because there's nothing on top of Nose Hill. There's just hiking trails there. There's not even any trees up there. It's just grassland up there and like sagebrush and stuff. So yeah, that's weird. See, yeah, golf courses too. They can restrict. Who goes on golf courses too, right? Even if it's a public course, you can't just walk on. The what do they call the course marshal or whatever will come up and kick you off there if you're not actually playing golf or haven't paid your whatever they call it, your green fees or whatever it is to play around a golf, whether it's 9 holes or 18. I don't know. I'm not much of a golfer, so forgive me. I don't know the terminology, but yep, I would agree with that, Team Heat. Provincial parks, sacred lands. Yeah, like, oh, that's an old indigenous burial grounds. It's sacred land. We'll fence it off. You can't go mess around in there. Which, if it legitimately is, yeah, more power to you. It should be, considered sacred and just leave it alone and don't mess with it. At least not with permission of the elders of that nation or tribe or what have you. But I mean, if they're just using it as an excuse, then it sort of dilutes the meaning behind true sacred lands, right? Is that what it is? Gentlemen only, women, lady forbidden? Gentlemen only, ladies forbidden? Come on, really? Can't be. Get out of here. No, no digging. Well, yeah, I don't know if golfers are up to no good, but the golf courses, it seems to me, I mean, Calgary itself. I mean, Calgary, I'm pretty lucky, and I think Vincent would agree. Bernie, I think I spotted him earlier in the chat as well. Crypto Alchemist Bernie. He's here in Calgary as well. There he is, a fellow Calgarian Tartarian, a Targaryen. And I mean, Calgary's a pretty nice city. We've got a couple of rivers that flow through the city. There's a lot of old neighborhoods with the big trees. There's a lot of green spaces. We're close to the mountains. It's not far to drive out of the city till you get to rural areas, and it's nice and quiet, countryside, whatever, right? But the city's, got a little bit of everything for everybody. If you like the city life, the nightlife, whatever, it's got something for everybody. And yeah, there's some ugly tall skyscrapers, but some of the newer buildings have got some character in them too. I think a lot of architects over the past, I don't know, I would say the past decade here in the city, not just with condominiums and stuff, making them look cool, making them fit in with the old world buildings that might be in the older neighborhoods. But even some of the new skyscrapers and office towers, they make them at least visually more appealing than these big rectangular concrete and glass monstrosities. But even with all of that said, I could see the mountain parks having a lot of golf courses, but I mean, Calgary's got like, I don't know, more than a dozen golf courses? Like within either within Calgary or within some of the outlying areas, like within a 20-minute drive outside of Calgary. I'm like, okay, I know, it's Alberta, right? A purty Alberti. I know we're a pretty piece of land out here in southwestern Alberta and all that, but do we really need that many golf courses? So I don't know what they hide with, but I think they do. Not all golf courses, but I think a lot of the golf courses, the older ones that have been around since the 1920s or whatever, I think they were built on top of stuff to hide stuff, maybe, or stuff they couldn't necessarily explain away too easily. But, it's just a divot. Yeah. Yeah, well, especially with the Shaganappy golf course. I'm interested to see. So under is the spot under there no longer being used? Did they seal it up? What's going on under there now? Right? Because it's on that website for that magazine in that article that says that they're gone. So it's gone how? The golf course is still there. So they dig up the golf course and tear up that stuff and then put the golf course back down again? Like that, it doesn't make sense. So it's not like it's gone. It's still there. It's just sealed off, but only probably still in use. It's probably just sealed off by the official story and sealed off to only all those but a select few, perhaps. I don't know. It just seems really weird. In case of a nuclear attack way over here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, during the Cold War seems kind of, well, they took out the kitchen. They at least they took the beer out of there for sure there, bud. Can't let it is Canadians after all. We're not going to let a good beer go to waste. We're going to take care of that beer before we seal up the doors in that place or whatever. I mean, I don't even, let's just say that, the NATO and their terrible Ruskies back in the day, the union of them Soviets guys there, went head to head, right? And the nukes were launched or whatever. I mean, why Calgary? I guess it's the biggest city in Alberta. And I guess it is sort of the oil capital of Canada. Because there's oil and then there are hills around here. There's literally thousands of oil rigs and stuff all over Alberta. And then we got the natural gas and the tar sands and all that stuff. So I guess. But in the 50s, I don't know if it would have been, that much of an issue that they would have put an underground bunker command center under the golf course. I guess because it's close to, it's close to the army base that used to be up there, right? There's the CFB Calgary, Canadian Forces Base Calgary, the Curry Barracks, which is no longer an army base. And the barracks have been repurposed into, I think, condominiums or something, or apartments now, or something like that. So I guess the golf course is close to that. So I guess the mayor was out of luck, right? Because it's pretty far from City Hall. So Sorry, Mayor. You're probably not going to make it. Just the big brass from the military base. Oh, boy. Anyway, we're at the 1 hour mark. So I think what we'll do here is take a quick break, and I'll give you a sneak peek at the midweek coming up for this coming Wednesday. And then when we come back, we'll have a look at some photos, and then we'll kind of jabberjaw a little bit more with you fine folks in the chat. In the meanwhile, if you're just tuning in, this is Frankie, New West Reset. So welcome and thanks for shooting in. Joining me here for New West Reset Live, episode 28. And we're going to be looking at some more of the bygone greatness here in Calgary. Beautiful buildings that have been burned down, knocked down, bloated up, set on fire, farted on, whatever. Cows kicked over lanterns to burn them down, whatever the case may be. And so, like I said, it's a teary-eyed edition of New West Reset here live tonight. So thank you for joining me just after 8 p.m. Mountain Time here in Calgary. And as mentioned, going to give you a little bit of a peekaboo here at your upcoming midweek for Wednesday. Let me just get that queued up. And then I'll be back and we'll have a look at some old photos. Unfortunately, though, a lot of the photos that I found were, let's just say they weren't the most, they're small. They were like super tiny little photos. So you blow them up and they're so grainy, it looks like a 1984 video game. But that said, let me just queue up this here, and then I shall be back. I think this is a quick one as well, like 2.5 minutes or so. But it's a rare look at the interior of the Ottawa Parliament buildings. A couple of the interior shots there, but they aren't photographs. It's actually film from, I believe, 1950. So we'll have a look at that, and I'll be back in 2 shakes of a cow's tail or something like that. 2 sheeps on a cow's head? I don't know. All right, that's enough of that. We're back. We're back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, what did you think of that? Huh? Pretty spectacular in there, guys. Got to admit, pretty spectacular. And that was, you know, just a small sample. There's a massive complex there, the Parliament buildings. So that was just a shot at, I think, three wings: the main hall, the Houses of Parliament, where all the bureaucracy happens and everybody yells at Trudeau. Um, and then I think the memorial wing or something like that. But anyway, yeah, beautiful, beautiful structure in there. Yeah, I know, right? Ottawa is amazing. Ottawa is absolutely amazing. Yeah, the Parliament libraries in Ottawa are absolutely incredible. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, yeah. You'll always get a sneak peek at the midweek for sure. And it's 9 times out of 10, it's going to be, a vintage footage video set to music. Sometimes, I can find, and generally it'll be Canadian content as well. Oh, my pleasure, Team Heat. My pleasure. Generally, I try to make it Canadian content, although not always, right? Yeah, Montana. So you've got Montana, Idaho. So Alberta's right above Montana, and Idaho is right underneath British Columbia, as well as Washington State. So yeah, you got a lot of mines, coal. There's a lot of oil. But the majority of Canada's mines, though, are out in what's called the nickel belt, just sort of west, in and around the north and west of the Great Lakes. There's nickel and copper and all that stuff out there. Yeah, isn't it great? It's mind blowing in that place. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, just outstanding in there. Yeah, it's definitely definitely has all the hallmarks, doesn't it? Definitely has all the hallmarks. Yeah, I would agree with that too, Team Heat. Definitely. Also like what Vincent had to say up here too. Painful to think the modern farce that plays out inside this old masterpiece. Yeah. One could almost consider it sacrilege on a certain level, almost, sort of, kind of, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, the library's on another level. That place that's just gets you baffled and befuddled, gets you all pickleated in the brain. Yeah, I almost did say that, but I ain't gonna. And you're not going to hear that on this channel either. You'll hear the Tragically Hip. You'll hear Big Sugar. You'll hear Neil Young. You'll hear a lot of Canadian. You'll hear some Canadian content as far as the music goes for a lot of my videos. But yeah, you're not going to hear those guys, even though they're from here in Alberta. But I ain't proud of that. Bless him for all the success, though. Haters gonna hate, and I guess I gotta be in the hater camp. Not a fan, but it is what it is. There he is, Isabella Live 2.0. Welcome. Better late than never. Not a worry. That guy's pretty easy going around here. So, just you popping in and shooting in and saying hello. That's great. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Terry says, good. Yeah, you're not going to hear that here. Good. Although the other day somebody said it was last week's midweek, the one with the horses pulling the trolleys, which is so ridiculous, right? I used a Tragically Hip song, but it was a cover of their song Boots or Hearts, done by a band called Grady, which is fronted by Gordie Johnson, who's a Canadian. He has the band Big Sugar, which I mentioned. And I've used their music before. And actually, the theme song for my channel is a Big Sugar song. So both the acoustic version for the live stream and the acoustic versions that I use for the vintage footage videos, and the sort of electric version for the live streams and so on. It's Big Sugar. So Big Sugar did a cover of the Tragically Hip song "Boots Are Hearts," and one guy commented under the video that he hated that version and that I should use the original one. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's like, sure, like, I totally get it. Music's subjective. I actually prefer the original version myself, but I like this cover version. I like Gordie Johnson and all his musical projects, so I like it. Is it as good? No, but it's pretty good. But then I also kind of thought afterwards, I thought, geez, like that little snippet of like 2.5 minutes took me about 3 hours to make. Like, to find the video, isolate it, capture it, edit it, filter it a bit, chop it up to only the parts that had just horses pulling trolleys, link it all up together in the software, put the music to it, sync it and edit it to the music, and then put my intro and outro on the front and back of it, and then upload it. So about 3 hours. And the comment was, I hate this song. I get it. But what do you think of the footage, man? Horses pulling streetcars. Isn't that crazy? So it is what it is, right? But with that said, you're still not going to get any nickel back. So a guy wouldn't hold his breath. You might pass out and hit your head on something. Anyways, let's look at some wacky photos. And this is where you're going to have to break out the tissue. This is where you're going to have to break out the Kleenex, because we're going to be boohooing. It's some beautiful bygone greatness here. And these are in no particular order. Some of them are going to be the same structure, just maybe from different angles, or maybe from an old postcard, and then from a black and white photo. But I tried to, because there's not many, to be honest, many photos of these buildings. It's even in that article, it's like, oh, in hindsight, we regret knocking down these old beauties. But, okay, so could you at least keep pictures of them? No, didn't take any pictures. What? Why didn't you? You bozos? Oh, no, we didn't. We don't do that. We build them, keep them up for about 40 years, then we knock them down. All right. So hopefully you can see that. Okie dokie. I'm thinking you can. Yeah, you can. Okay, good. So this is CPR, the Canadian Pacific Railroad. We saw one shot already, the railroad station downtown Calgary by the old Palliser Hotel there. And they had a number of buildings in and around 1 to 2 block radius of the main station downtown. So this is their lands building. So not a huge structure by any stretch of the imagination, but for just a little fella, it's pretty fancy with all your little rigmarole up here. And then you've got some suspiciously, but look like low windows here that are, well, they want people to be careful, so they put a railing or a fence around here even. So these are always odd to me. And then this looks, oh no, that's just part of the watermark. Okay, or part of the postage stampage printing this thing from the postcard. For a second I thought that was a buried arch, but no, it's just see, you got to be careful. Get too excited. Is it Friday night? I forgot. Why time to cry? Well, because none of these are here anymore. These are all long gone. Okay, so here's the Herald building. So the photo that we saw in the article was a postcard, but this is actually a great shot. I love this shot. So you can see here, it's, you know, the red brick. And then, what did they say? The Royal Dalton gargoyles and all that all along here. I do really wish this thing was still here. It was a glorious building. And don't forget, there's still that portion on top that looks like a little castle that's set up on top of this thing too. And then this had a twin, well, not a twin, it had a younger brother or a younger sister across the street that came to about here. It was only about 7 or 8 floors. But just beautiful with these big, massive arched entranceways. You know, sorry it gets kind of pickleated here a bit. But yeah, lovely, lovely structure. It's the old post office. Why this isn't around, I don't know. Maybe they have a hard time explaining this business, this nonsense down here. Maybe. And explaining why you have to have conical domes on little, what are columns made to look like turrets, you know, on a post office. And of course, it's got to be 4 stories, you know, for a city of about 3,000 to 4,000 people when this was built. But lovely. And much like that CPR Lands building, yeah, monstrous blocks, big sandstone blocks. And that's the whole thing, Sandstone City. This is another shot of the post office. This is on a postcard. So again, notice you've got to go up to get into what they're calling the main floor, but then you have all these low mud flooded windows down here. It's always very strange to me. And this couldn't have been easy to have these windows and these dormers come out of this roof line. And again, you know, what's the purpose of these little urn-like doodads and all this, right? It's, well, a post office, man. So this is another CPR, Canadian Pacific Railroad building, the Department of Natural Resources building. This is now gone as well. Kind of again, a stout but real sturdy looking building, and quite beautiful again with, you'll have to excuse the quality of the photo, but you know, with the symbology here inside these sort of medallions. I think the narrative on these buildings is around 1910, 1911, I think is when they're saying a lot of these were built. The railroad came into Calgary in 1886, which I think is the same year as we had our fire. 1886. So yeah, 1886 is when we had our fire too. So there's a bit of a weird coincidence. CP Rail comes in here in 1886, and then we have a fire. Huh. The Sherman Grand block, not super exquisite, but again, you know, you've got this quite a substantial. Don't forget, you know, Calgary is just a small prairie town at this point, but quite a substantial red brick structure with all of this fancy work along the top. And of course, you got to have all your tech on there that people say those are just flagpoles. You ever seen a flag after it's been up on a flagpole that high up in the air after a couple of weeks? It's all tattered and beat to hell. That's why most buildings, their flags are on flagpoles that come out of the side of the building on a 45-degree angle, usually along the frontage of the main street. They might have one on each corner or something, you know, 20 feet off the ground on an angle. So that if a guy's got to get up there and replace the flag, he can just have access from the window or those ugly fire escapes that they put on buildings. But anyway, I digress. Look at this thing. Say, Frankie, where are we? Are we in Romania? Nope. Are we in Yugoslavia? Nope. Try again. Are we in the Crimean Peninsula? Nope. Are we in Syria? No. We're in dusty old prairie town, Calgary, Alberta, folks. This is the old Roman Catholic St. Mary's Cathedral. Absolutely gorgeous structure. Of course, gone. Deemed structurally unsound. So they tore it down in the 40s, 50s, 40s. I can't remember. I did a muffler walking tour of the building that replaced this in the Mission District called Rouleauville. So look for that on the channel as well. So they knocked down a church to build a church, much like they knocked down office buildings to build office buildings, or knock down hospitals to, you guessed it, build you a hospital. Yeah, it almost looks like a Greek Orthodox or Russian Orthodox. Yeah, where is this game is impossible. Yeah, that's true, because this could be in Syria, it could be in France, it could be in Uzbekistan, it could be in Winnipeg, Canada, or in this case, Calgary. Yeah, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing, right? Yeah, I love this place. I wish this was still here too. I'm telling you, man, you gotta get your tissue out. This is gonna be a rough ride. Look at this thing. Beautiful. With the semi-circular somatic window. And just all of this carving and ornate detail in here. Absolutely beautiful structure. It's not brick either, it's stone. Gorgeous, gorgeous building. And goodbye. This is the Great West Saddlery Company. Of course, Calgary, with all of us cowboys, is going to have a saddlery, a company that makes them their horse saddles, you see. See the old chimney there, the old brick chimney. Still got the flagpole on her. Again, red brick. These inlays here, sandstone. 9 times out of 10 in Calgary, all this is going to be sandstone. Whether it's an arch with a keystone that's highlighted, that keystone will be sandstone, or whether it's stuff like this, or this, sorry, or this entire building next to it, all sandstone. But this is, I think, is on what used to be, or this used to be on what Stephen Avenue or 8th Avenue Southwest, I think, but it's gone. But it's funny, there was 2 saddle making companies in Calgary, and there was and still is a cowboy hat making company called Smith Built Hats here in Calgary. But could I find a horse-drawn buggy company or a chuck wagon company here in Calgary? Nope. Apparently us cowboys, even though we were all in the big city of Calgary, and, we had everything at our fingertips, like opera houses, for crying out loud. But couldn't be bothered to have nobody had the wherewithal to say, you know what, a guy could make money hand over fist in that there Calgary if I started up a horse buggy factory in Calgary with all them cowboys and ranches. Nope. But it wasn't just salary and bridal and all that stuff. It was workwear, I guess you would call it. Overalls, dungarees, gloves, stuff like ranch attire, rugged ranch attire. Here's another shot of that Alexander. I think I mistakenly earlier called it the Mackenzie building, but it's the Alexander building. This building's still there, and this building is still there. But this one with its conical dome had to go. No, that's too hard to explain with the turret and the dome and the tech. So no, we're not even going to bother trying to explain this in the time of dirt roads and horses and buggies on this big grand avenue of Sandstone City. Now we're just going to knock it down. It's just easier that way to get rid of it. This is the Empire Hotel. Not this little structure. It's still there. This is also on Stephen Avenue. Now, I thought that this was trying to pull a fast one, that this was gone. And they're saying it's gone and it's still there because this looks like another building. Or this looks like the same building that's still on Stephen Avenue. But that building is actually it's a different building. It looks very similar, but it's not. So this one was, of course, burned down in a fire. And then a year later, a year later, a replacement building, which was 2 floors taller than this, which is still there, was built. So within a year after this burning down, they had another one built in its place to replace it. That was not 3 floors, but 5 floors. And that's the other thing too, like 3,000 to 4,000 people around this time period. A lot of hotels. Not really sure why so many hotels in some dusty prairie town in the middle of nowhere. I could understand hotels in the mountain parks. Now, this is Exhibition Park, Calgary. Now, this is where they held the Calgary Stampede Rodeo, but also the Dominion Exhibition in Calgary, which was sort of like a World's Fair, but for Canada only, eh? Like it was only held in Canadian cities. It wasn't quite the level of World's Fair, but it was the national version of it. Anyway, I covered that on my last live stream. Now, the Calgary Stampede is still held on these grounds, but all of this glory with a metal domed roof with all of these pillars and this building with all of these big columns, this big massive structure with all of this glass, this one in the back with a dome with a turret and what looks to me like maybe another dome on top of the turret. No, all this gone. The old grandstand was still standing up until I think 30 years ago. And then they tore it down and they built a more modern one. But yeah, like just beautiful. Absolutely. This would just been so exquisite. This is just on the east end of downtown, about 2 blocks from behind Old City Hall. Just beautiful. But nope, progress. Get rid of it. Here's another shot from a different angle. Yeah, now I see that it is. It's amazing. Just incredible. Look at this too, eh? Just get all up, all fancy just to go to Exhibition Park. Jeez. They'd have horse races here and they'd have all kinds of community activities and exhibitions going on. So here's the street frontage side of that CP rail station, which in the other photos from that article that we were looking at we were looking at this structure, but from the back side. So this is the frontage. And this is the Palliser Hotel, again, in the background. And some of these buildings, like this one here and this one way back here, are still there. But this is gone. This is gone. This is gone. This is gone. This gone. This gone. This little one here beside this, gone. Oh, no, this is gone too. King George Hotel, that's gone. But yeah, this was the rail station. So you pull up here, get your tickets, go in here. Here's where your luggage is delivered and unloaded from the train. You've got these sort of, I don't know what these are. They almost look like station wagon type cars. I guess it's sort of taxis or like old-timey buses, I guess, because it looks like it holds about 8 people. So maybe they would bus you to from the hotels, from the train station, maybe. But a really cool old postcard. They had a beautiful garden here with all kinds of fountains and flowers and stuff. I mean, this is just gorgeous. Even by this point, which we're looking at, I would guess late 20s, still seeing a few horses and buggies, but mostly jalopies at this point. This is that opera house once again. The other one we looked at was, this is the same photo, but a black and white photo. But the other one wasn't as crisp and clear as this one. So this is the same photo of the same building we saw earlier. Same two cars here and everything. But just with the lighting on this being black and white, you could see the detail a lot better of the brickwork under these windows, and this being sandstone up here. And then, this under here would have been sandstone, and then these keystones here would all be sandstone. This must have, in its heyday, well, that was a portal too. So not only these two here, but this one as well. So in its heyday, this thing would have just been a beauty. In the 1880s, this would have just been the cock of the walk. You pull up in your handsome cab here, all dressed to the nines, like those folks going to the exhibition grounds. It would have been a beaut. There's another shot of that Catholic church. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Look at this. Jeez. This is opposite view of the Calgary Municipal Railway, the streetcar, their barns. Again, in that article, we were looking at the opposite side. I just thought it was a really neat shot. It's weird how they bother to put in these arches, but then they square it off. So odd to me. Guess it's easier to build a rectangular door than an arched door, because these guys are a bunch of knuckleheads that I think they just find stuff like this and they just take it over. At least personally, that's what I think, is these guys just walk up, they look at an old building like this, and
I'll steal it! No one will ever know!
basically what it boils down to. Yeah, I think that's what those fairs were, those World's Fairs, those expos, and I think that's what the Dominion exhibitions, the Canadian Dominion exhibitions in the late 1800s, early 1900s were, right up until World War I, and then they stopped. They were basically re-education sort of centers, I guess, for lack of a better term. Sorry, again, in no particular order, this is the back to that CP Rail downtown train station. So we were looking at it from this end before with that garden over here, and the hotel is on this side now. You can see big, beautiful, grand archways with lots of fancy work here. And up all along here, too, these are all like medallions, all carved and stuff. It's hard to see here, unfortunately, but it was quite a big, lovely building. This is taken from the balcony of the Dominion Hotel across the street. I don't know what this is. Middle of the road. Was that a dead horse in the road? Get it out of there now. I remember the smokestack being here. Maybe it's for the steam heating system, or maybe part of the air catchment system. I don't know. Again, there's that Alexander building with the Bank of Montreal here too. Yep, got to tear that down. Can't have these people walking like this guy standing in the middle of the road looking up at it. What the? So this is the Hotel Alexandra, not the Hotel Alexandria. Not super fancy, but, you do have some columns here with some beautiful architectural detail along the top. And then you do have these small little arched windows that I think could also serve as transom windows that you could open on an angle, you know, to create a draft system. This hotel, though, it almost looks like it takes a funny angle here, but I don't know if this was one of those sort of hotels like the Palliser Hotel, where you have one like this and another one beside it, and then it sort of recesses in between them. You know what I mean? I'm not sure what that style is called. No, it just kind of, okay, it just goes in and back out, but they've done it on a 45 angle here instead of a 90-degree angle. Get some tech on there, and again, you got to have some kind of thing on the roof that's got columns. You see that? Like, nobody from down here, none of these bozos are going to see that. Why does that have to be fancy? People say, well, that's where the elevator is. That houses the elevator. Okay, even if I give you that, which I don't, but even if I suppose and I did, does it have to be fancy with these columns? I mean, they're not pillars, but they're those like columns, you know? And this is, again, this is a picture from the 50s, I think. So imagine in its heyday, you know, before it had all this crap on it and all these crummy cars in front of it. I shouldn't say crummy cars. These are pretty nice, cool old cars, but you know what I'm saying. And this was the old public market, I think. There's pictures of this too. So this is the land titles office, not the CP Rail land titles office. No, this is the City of Calgary land titles office. That was next to the old courthouse. Not really sure what this is back here. I don't think it's part of this. I think it's part of something else, but yeah, you got to go up some stairs, and then you got your really low windows. Look like mud flutter windows here to me. And of course, you got to have some kind of cartouche or medallion or coat of arms on her. It's got to make it all official act so people know it's a government building, you see. There's another shot of the Burns residence. This is a guy's private house, and it was so freaking nice, as we had seen earlier in the stream. It was so nice they put it on a bloody postcard. Suspicious landscaping here, though, a guy would submit to you. And you got to go up these stairs, and then you got to go up some more stairs to get into the place. So that's weird. But what a beautiful home. This here, all stone. Not sure if it's brick underneath. I think the official story is that it's stone. It's stone. It's a sandstone home. But whew, gorgeous, man. Like ridiculous. This is the Central School. Now, my buddy Vincent, he and I went and had a up close and personal boots on the ground look at this cupola, which is actually now sitting on top of a crappy concrete brick structure that's the entrance to an underground car parking lot. They removed it when they knocked down the school. They put it in storage for decades for some reason. And then when they put a park, which was basically kitty corner from where this is, just sort of over here, they put a city park there with an underground parkade. They put this bunk right on the southeast corner of the park as the entrance to the underground parking lot. So wrap your noodle around that, if you will. But this was a beautiful old sandstone school. Or so they say. I'm not sure why this has to be. And this thing is exquisite. Absolutely exquisite. I mean, it's a cupola with a dome with another cupola with another dome on top. This top portion is now missing, but there are online photos of when it was still there, even in its new incarnation as a parkade entrance. But these little pillars and columns and the clocks, I mean, just amazing. But, for a prairie town school, awfully fancy. I would buy this as a school. If somebody said, yeah, this little 2-story building with this little thing here, that's the school. Then I'd be like, okay. This almost looks like a government building, like a state capitol building or a post office in like some American city, This was basically what we would call the high school, and this is basically what we would call primary school or elementary school, right? So once you graduated from here to high school, at least you didn't have far to go. Or this might have been a church, maybe. I don't know. I thought it was a school, but either way, neither are here anymore. And this is a shame because it's beautiful. But hey, at least we saved this to make it into a parking lot entrance. Hi, Freya. Good to see you. Thanks for shooting in. Welcome, welcome. Hi, haha. Old friend of the channel. Good to see you shooting in. Hope you're enjoying stuff so far here. Right now, we're looking at the old Central Memorial, the park and the grandstand. Now, if this doesn't scream old world and also symbology and geomancy or whatever they call that, then I don't know what does, man. I really don't know. Now, some of this is still here. The park area is still here. It's still considered a war memorial. But this grandstand with this what do they call this, palisade or whatever, it's gone. This building in behind, which was the old hospital that they tore down and built a hospital, yeah, so that's gone. But you can just see a little bit of this old church. It's still there. And I've done a boots on the ground mud flood walkabout on this thing. And it's a beautiful old church. And actually, a lot of the design work that's in this park is the same. This is taken from the roof, the top of the Carnegie Hall or the Carnegie Library, the Calgary Carnegie Library, of course. And then this is looking west. So this is gone. There's an obelisk here now as a war memorial, of course. And then there's a statue of a guy on a horse, either here or here. I want to say it's here. And the obelisk is here. And then, yeah, right about where my cursor is here is the Carnegie Library. The Freemason Hall is just off to the north here on this boulevard. There's a nice shot of the postcard. Okay, that's weird. So there's the statue of the guy on the horse, but it's not in here. See, I thought when they took this down, they put this up to replace it, but I guess not. So that's weird. So this photo taken earlier than this postcard, I guess, because the statue's still there. See, it's a guy on a horse. But this is gone. By the way, 96.3827% of the statues in Calgary are going to be a guy on a horse. This is just randomly in here, but this is actually the interior of the dang, I should have labeled this one. It's the interior of one of the old theaters that's gone. And I'm sorry, I can't remember which one. I think the Palace Theater. Started off as vaudeville, then silent movies, then talkies, right? But look at this. This is obviously a 3-page photo or a panoramic photo or something. So this obviously doesn't take that weird angle. This is just a big, beautiful circle. But, this, I'm telling you, cowboys are way fancier than you think we are now up here in Calgary. Like I said, you got to have opera houses. You got to have beautiful interiors to our theaters like this. Banks have got to have domes and turrets on them. Otherwise, it ain't good enough for us sophisticated cowboys. Sorry, this one's so tiny. So if I blow it up too much, it's going to look terrible. This is the Capitol Theater. It's tough to tell, but there's some, again, medallions or something on here with, symbology and carvings. But yeah, just an old theater. Gone. There's another shot of that Burns residence. You can see here again, just the property that it was on was huge. This is the First Presbyterian Church, which is gone. It's red brick and sandstone. And, we can't just, put a spire on it. It's got to be an octagonal spire. And then we got to put a second one in it. And then, all kinds of crazy old tech on there. Like, what is that? Wow. And then, you got to have your portals and your arches. And then we're going to put some low windows in it so that you got to go up 11.4 million stairs in Canada in the winter just to go and say your prayers so that you can get onto the main floor. I don't know what's going on here. That's weird. Huh. This is a hotel, the Braemar Hotel, which was actually quite famous for its style. And this one, by the narrative, you can see that old school in the background. But this one, by the narrative, apparently, this is a hotel that tourists would actually come to stay in. If they were coming to Calgary for the Stampede, or if they were coming in the wintertime to go skiing in the mountain parks, the more sophisticated traveler would stay in this sort of beautiful but understated hotel. But, just all the complicated angles on this thing with the turrets and this big crazy doohickey on the top, and multiple, what they're going to tell us are chimneys, but very unusual looking for chimneys. Very unusual shape anyway. But again, brick, sandstone, a beautiful big entranceway. And, well, she's gone. She's gone. Another shot of the Opera House. I like this one because it's got the old fire hall with the lookout tower. I guess is what they're going to say it is in the background. And then this old church here. And then you've got this old, I don't know what that is, gas lantern or maybe old electric. I don't know. But again, you have dirt roads, but then you have built up sidewalks. It's always struck me so odd. We can take the time to put sidewalks in, but we're still going to leave the roads mucky and dirty. This is the Knox. Excuse me. It's escaping me. Not the Knox United, because it's still there. The Knox Presbyterian Church. It's not the First Presbyterian Church, and not the Knox United Church, the Knox Presbyterian Church. But this one has this big, what do they call that? That sort of rounded portion there? The rectory or I don't know. I don't know the names of parts of churches. But again, quite lovely. And again, not brick, all stone, sandstone. Just another shot of those old streetcar barns. There's the Empire Hotel here. It's got this interesting roof line here with these dormers with the windows coming out. Unfortunately, again, if I blow it up too much, it gets very pickleated, unfortunately. But these very fancy details around the surrounding these upper floor windows. Again, not a big, massive, not like a big hotel you'd see in New York or anything, but again, small prairie town at this point. You know, maybe 5,000 people at this point. Again, this is the Burns. You're seeing a dinosaur in the back. It's actually obviously a sculpture. It's another big thing here in southern Alberta is the dead dinosaurs. But look at all this. Ivy, I guess, or whatever that is. I don't know. You don't often see ivy here in Canada, especially out in the west. Maybe in British Columbia. I forget the name of this one, but it's another mansion. What's a tech on this one too? Very fancy. Another shot of that onion-domed Catholic church in Rouleauville. This building is still there. That's the convent. That's in that video that I did, that Mudflood walkabout tour. Look at this. Just a beautiful old structure. Deemed unsafe, so we better tear it down. Okay, so this is the very, very first, and I didn't know this until collecting these photos and doing a bit of research. This is the very, very first Calgary fire hall, the original fire hall #1. Now, I thought the one that Vince and I went and looked at downtown that has that copper dome on the lookout tower was the original #1 fire hall, but apparently not. It was the fire headquarters and technically the second #1 fire hall. So this was the precursor to that, and on a different spot. It says erected in 1882, I think. Yeah, 1880, or is that a 7? Could be a 2 or a 7. Maybe a 7. I don't know. I mean, that's just, you just put that up there and they could put whatever they want on it, I guess. But this just looks like an addition built onto the side of it of some kind of crappy wooden thing. So I guess they're going to try to tell us as the city expanded, they had to expand the fire hall by building, additions onto it. But why couldn't you build additions out of brick and sandstone like the rest of the building with all this beautiful little details on it? Oh, no, we can't do that. I think these are repurposed as well. There's the lookout tower, I guess, for this one. So this one had 2 towers. It had a bell tower and then a lookout tower. So you couldn't have them performing double duty. No, you had to build 2, I guess. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not sure, but wouldn't that be ironically hilarious if it did burn down? I don't think it burnt down. I think the narrative is they outgrew it and it got just too old and they knocked it down. But that would be hilarious if they, really, how come it's gone? It burned down. This is the, what block is this? I can't read it. Dang. Now, there's a lot of buildings in Calgary that look like this. I just recently, in my Chinatown video, walked by a building that looked very similar to this. It didn't have this this detail on it. It was just sort of straight across. But yeah, I like these buildings that have these corner entrances. They've got these sort of fancy columns here. Sorry, I can't read this, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's gone. So this is that King George Hotel that we could see from the train station a little while back. This has obviously been photo manipulated to take out the other surrounding buildings to put it on a postcard or something, but it was quite a big hotel. And again, you could see quite fancy here, and always sort of in the upper portions of these buildings is it the most fancy. So that when you're down here like this fella with the awning, yeah, this is actually a canopy, not an awning, but like it's a rigid structure. But either way, you're not going to see it. Like, who's seeing this? Who's appreciating this? People in the building across the street, I guess. So this is that central school again, just from a different angle this time. This is a separate building, the one that was beside it. And this is the school. This is Central Park, but oh, yeah, it could be. It would be the same park where the Carnegie Library is and that old memorial amphitheater looking thing was. Another one of the Burns residents. A little bit of a better idea of the stone wall around this place. Had a sort of an atrium. It looks very similar actually to a building that I looked at a couple of years ago called the Lougheed House. Except for the Lougheed House has conical domes and is a little bit fancier than this in terms of the details, but this thing's bigger. And at one time in Calgary, there was a street. It's now 13th Avenue Southwest. But that whole street was lined with all of these old world mansions, but they were all made out of sandstone. And now there's only a couple of them left, the Lougheed House being one of them. There's another shot of that streetcar maintenance barns. Oh, it's a duplicate of the Opera House there, sorry. So this is a Hotel York. I wish I couldn't find a better picture of this. My apologies. But all of this up along here is all very fancy, intricate sort of, I don't know how to describe it, like carvings, like different symbols, like coat of arms and fruit and, the usual suspects of what we see, lions' heads, all that stuff. And then these actually protrude upward slightly above the ridge line or the roof line of the building. But unfortunately, this grainy old postcard, or almost looks like a, I don't know what, advertisement or something, is all I could find, unfortunately. There's another angle of that same school, that South Ward Central School. It was beautiful, like absolutely beautiful. Again, sorry, there's no particular order on these photos. I was just trying to find as many as I could. There's another CP Rail building. This is their, I can't even read that. Inspection building, I want to say that says, maybe. Administration building, I don't know what that says. I can't read it. Doesn't matter. It's a beautiful sandstone building. And again, much like a lot of these CP Rail buildings that they say were all built around the same time, when the population of Calgary was about 2,000 people. No, scratch that. Maybe a little more. Maybe around 10,000 people. They're all built at the same time. They're all 2, 3, 4, 5 floors, all these huge sandstone blocks. But they all got to have mud flood windows, and then you got to go upstairs to get into them. Like every one of these CP Rail buildings. It's like they just found them all and claimed them all real quick. This one, that one, that one, all the ones that are around the train station, they're all, we're going to take all of them. This is the Beveridge Tarvis block. And then the fire hall in the background. This is the one that Vincent and I went and looked at, that has the copper dome on top of the lookout tower. And again, unfortunately, it gets pretty pickleated here if I get in too tight. But you can just see the detail all along here. Big, massive 5-story structure. Like this, a building this size isn't huge. I mean, it's not a skyscraper by any means. But even when a lot of these were knocked down in the 20s and in the 30s, it still would have been no small feat to knock these down. It still would have been a huge pain in the ass without closing off, an entire city block and having to reroute traffic. Mind you, I guess if it's horses and buggies, it's not such a big deal. Okay, here's another shot of that Knox Presbyterian Church. Not the Knox United, the Knox Presbyterian. Big stone structure. You got your ether fencing along here, and you've just got all of these antennas and spires and little pokey doodads sticking up everywhere. Almost castle-like. Big arched entrance here with massive wooden doors. I would have loved to have seen this place. This thing is just beautiful. Looks like a little dome on top. Again, sorry, old postcard, but looks like a cupola with a little dome here and maybe here. This could be that fire hall in the background again. The original fire hall. But yeah, what a lovely building. Long gone. This is a warehouse, the Brock and Company warehouse. Again, postcard, sorry. Tiny pictures. So all of what I could find, really, unfortunately. But you can see here, again, really low windows. And you got to go up a few steps to get in. And then you've got this big, huge grand entrance with the transom window above the big main door. An entrance on the corner of the building. And what looks to be the remnants of some tech up there, maybe. So this is the old police station. Now, I don't know about this. They're saying this is gone. But there is still what they're calling the Calgary Police #1 police station or headquarters that's still right downtown. And it looks very similar to this. It's a red brick building with the sandstone here and all the sandstone around these windows. It has these low windows like this that actually have bars on them. So I don't know. I'm going to have to look into this one a little more. It doesn't have the same grand entrance, though. I'll tell you what. Like, this is beautiful. Like, what does a police station need this for? And where does this go under here? Like, why do you have to build all of this as an entrance to get in here if this, from what I gather, is an entrance? It's because this used to be the main floor, I think, and this is a mud flood building. But yeah, definitely some confusion around this building because it says that it's the old original police station in Calgary. But from what I understood was the old original police station is still there. We actually did a tour of it on the channel here. Boots on the ground, baby. So I don't know. I'll look into it. This is the McDougall block. And this was a beauty with their big stone arched entranceways, but unfortunately gone. And they did something a little different with this one. They did a row of rectangular windows and then a row of arched windows and then another row of rectangular windows. Normally we see the arches only on the top maybe or only on the bottom maybe and then the rest are rectangular. But here they kind of flip the script. I don't know. It's kind of neat. And you've got to have some columns, not pillars, but columns here on what I think are little sort of bijou balconies or little terraces that you could step out. Here too, it looks like this area is recessed inside and it maybe has French doors that you can open up and come out here. But all big stone. Now, this was one that wasn't on any list, but I remember being there because I've been inside it many times. This is the old Penny Lane arcade or Penny Lane Mall, and it was a penny arcade. And this was built in the 1890s, I believe. And it was torn down in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. This building is still there, and this building next to it is still there, I believe. But this is gone. It's now a big, huge office tower made of glass. But this was a penny arcade. And there was different shops and everything. The interior was sort of mezzanine. So to get to these upper levels, it was all mezzanine with like wrought iron railings. And then there was skylights up here that looked down into the main building. And then next to it, this was part of Penny Lane, but it was actually separate from the penny arcade or the mall, I guess. Arcade basically is an old world term for mall, what we call a mall now. But this was a restaurant, a cafe here and a restaurant. But yeah, this is gone too, and it was beautiful inside, actually. Each of the stores or businesses, retailers, I guess, because it always stayed a mall or an arcade of some kind, a mall, right? So a few main entrances off the street, I think one here and one here. But once you got inside, each retailer had their own entrance, and they were all arched like this. It was just beautiful inside, and they tore it down to build a big glass ugly thing. So yeah, they had penny arcades in there, and there was retailers in there, and there was 5 and dime shops in there back in the day, and the whole bit. And yeah, gone. It's too bad. It was beautiful. I remember when I used to work in the sort of the Eaton Center Mall, the shopping complex downtown, just 2 blocks east of this. I used to walk by here every day. There's another shot of that CPR train station, and you get in a little bit of the Palliser Hotel here in the background. And I don't know what this is, but it's gone too. But the whole front of this CPR train station downtown had these big, huge arched entrances. Just beautiful. There you go. Big arch there, big arch there. And then these pillars here, columns here. By the way, you may notice in the background the Palliser Hotel is shorter here than it is here. That's because when it was originally built, they say it was only 5 floors. So all the construction photos that I could find online of the Palliser Hotel is actually only when they're adding the additional floors. There's no construction photos of the lower floors. Here's another CP building, CP Land's office. Or did we look at this one already? We may have. Oh yeah, we did. It's just a postcard version, I guess. Again, this is just where you go in, and I don't even know what CP Land's, I guess, where people could sell their land to the railroad. Like if the railroad's coming through your town and they want to strong arm you into selling your farm so they could run the train across your land or whatever, eminent domain or whatever they call that. So this is the York Hotel. This is, okay, I did have a picture of it. This is the one that we looked at a while ago that has all the fancy stuff along the top here that we couldn't see. And then the canopy here, this is, wrought iron and glass. And I think the chains are held up by lions' heads, if I'm not mistaken, or were. This place is gone, of course. And you can see where they started vanilla skying the photo here and here to take out all the surrounding buildings. So this is probably where they got that postcard that we saw earlier in the live stream. What is this? This one was confusing because it says Calgary, Alberta, something house. But then it says Milwaukee, Wisconsin down here. But I don't know if that's this person's name and address, because this is a postcard, so it's printed on the postcard, Calgary, Alberta. I'm sorry, I know it's hard to read. I can't read what that says either. It's something house. Sorry, it's such a tiny photo. But I think what it was is this is a postcard of this building here in Calgary. Beautiful sandstone building with these arches in Calgary. And this is the person, they wrote their name and address on it, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So they came all the way from Wisconsin to Calgary for some reason. Which one? This one? The York Hotel? We may have, if this is the one you're talking about. This is one of the ones that they tore down. This is 7th Avenue where the train runs still today. There's a bunch of hotels in a row there. So this might be that one that we, in that sort of weird wooden display with all the plaques and stuff. Yeah, that might be what we saw, was this hotel. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, Vince. So this is that Calgary Herald building again. It's on a postcard here, but you can see how fancy the damn thing was back in the day. Again, gargoyles all up here, and it was amazing. And of course they broke all their gargoyles when they were taking them off to renovate the building. Of course. Whoopsies, Butterfingers. This is the King George Hotel. Not a very good shot, but super fancy on the front of this little guy. I mean, just a little feller, but super fancy. Supposedly built in 1910, so it says. Again, this is the wrought iron and glass canopy, which I don't mind. You know, the crappy awnings over the windows are kind of fugly, but this is kind of a nice detail, because you can, when you get up close to them, you can really see the craftsmanship and the detail in them. Another shot of the Capitol Theater. It's here, the Iron Horse. They got some kind of cockamamie marketing scheme here parked in front of the theater. Okay. You can get a better idea here. This looks almost like fruit or garland that's attached and hanging, but it's not, yeah, I guess sculpted or appliqued or a relief. It's not carved. It's an applied carving, whatever you call that. You know, a brick building, and then this sandstone, and then this. So to me, it looks like sort of like it's, you know, sort of hanging here, and then the tassels hanging down. There's a couple of them. They're very hard to see, unfortunately. But again, a lot of these old buildings that have been knocked down and no longer here in Calgary, there's not many photos of them. There's that Burns house again. Man, oh man, just beautiful house, man. Like, why did they tear this down? Oh yeah, to put up a hospital. My mistake. Tear this thing down and build a freaking hospital. This is the Rundle Lodge or Rundle. It was the hospital. It was the Calgary's third general hospital. I recently did a mud flood walkabout of the ruins of this place called the Rundle Ruins. There's not much left of it. Basically, this entranceway, the entranceway to this adjacent building, which this turns out to be, it was the what do they call that? Not the mental ward, but the when people had that, what was that, coughing disease? You'll have to excuse me. The coughing disease that the, you know, guys like, I don't know, Doc Holliday had back in the day. What was that damn thing called? The name escapes me. You're a sharp bunch in the chat. You'll put it in there, I'm sure. But anyways, that was the ward for that. And then this was the regular hospital. But I've never seen this on top of it before. That's really interesting. Really interesting. So there's only a few sort of semi-erect portions of walls left, and that's it. Tuberculosis. Thank you. Thank you. See, I knew you fine folks would get it. Yeah, this was the tuberculosis ward. The TB. There's another shot of that Penny Lane. Again, my apologies. These weren't in any particular order. But this is Penny Lane here. From here, this was the restaurant and cafe, all the way to here. You can see this was actually still standing in the 80s, or at least the late 70s. I see a Dodge pickup truck here. I see what looks like a Datsun or a Honda. Old Volvo. So yeah. So this is the Canadian Pacific Railroad Department of Natural Resources building. Look at this beauty for a railroad company, because you need that. That's easy to build in a small prairie city when it's, horse and buggy. The railroad just comes in. Oh, wait, there's one jalopy there. So, but this is beautiful. Yes, the consumption. That's right. Consumption. So this is that Brock Company warehouse. This is a much better shot, even though it's a postcard. You can see here stone here on the lower portion and then brick on the upper portion. I didn't really notice that in the old photo of it, but and then you get your low windows all the way down. I thought that guy was holding a rifle for a second, but no, it's just to hold this pole and hold the pole upright. Here's the Yale Hotel. This is actually cafe and restaurant. And then there was a rooftop patio, and this is obviously the main hotel building. But look at this. Look at the stonework along here. And all of this. Again, that sort of garland effect. Big, huge stones, arched windows. And it's a big hotel, too. Again, small prairie city. Get your transom windows up here. Huge, massive entrances. I think this is right on 7th Avenue as well, or it may have been on 8th or 9th Avenue Southwest, sort of within those 3 blocks. What the hell's this in the back? Holy. The freaking pyramid on top? What the hell is that? Okay. Huh. Moving on. Nothing to see here. There's a Knox Presbyterian again. This was a beauty. Somebody screwed up when they airbrushed it out to make the postcard. Somebody screwed up real bad there. Saddlery postcard. This is the Baptist church that had those 2 octagonal. I don't know what you call those, octagonal conical domes. I don't know. The ether fencing, and then another small one here. Just a beauty. Okay, I got confused earlier in the stream. There's the Burns Mansion, and then there's this, what was another mansion on St. George's Island, which is on the Bow River. And apparently there was some mansions on that island too that aren't there anymore, because St. George's Island is now where the Calgary Zoo is. So this is a different mansion than the Burns Mansion. My mistake. And I'm noticing now that this has the sort of the peaked roof here on these sort of flanking sides of the house, whereas in the Burns it doesn't. It's my apologies. This is the one that was covered in ivy that we saw earlier in the presentation. Here's another shot of that Rundle, the General Hospital, and then the TB ward here. Kind of a crappy old photo from 1900. Wooden sidewalk, dirt road, massive castle-like stone buildings. So weird. So here's the Calgary public market. It was, you know, a farmer's market, and you know, your fishmonger would be here, your butcher would be in there, your cheese guy, and then, you know, it's just everything. It was like a flea market, public market, farmer's market, the whole bit. Precursor to the shopping center. That beautiful building here with the big columns in the front. Big arched windows, arched entranceway. At this point, they've built a crappy, looks like covered wooden shitty entrance in front of it, but you can still see the beautiful archwork in the background. And then she was a big one too. And this one next to it, this auto and tractor garage. Look at this thing. Really, this is where you take your tractor to get fixed? Okay. Pretty fancy, no? The old courthouse. This is long gone, unfortunately. Whew, man, look at this. Huge arches. It looks a little squat or a little short to me. But when I say huge arches, I just mean how big and wide they are with these big, massive stone blocks. But this, again, it looks like you got to go up a couple steps. This thing looks like to me, my eye wants to say this has got to go down another 4 feet maybe for it to look right or to look symmetrical. So guys willing to bet dollars to donuts that behind these bushes there's some half-buried mud flood windows under these full windows. Again, speculating, but I mean this ain't easy to do, you know, for a bunch of cattle ranchers and cowpoke. There's the Herald building again. I was trying to find one that you could really see the gargoyles and the detail, and I guess this old postcard is probably the best we're going to get. But I mean, even this sod here, like when it gets to this point, it's angular, but when it gets to here, it's sort of rounded. You can see it a little better here, and it's because it's all carved. These are actually like reliefs of like people, like statues. I mean, this thing was a wonder. And then when they tried to remove this stuff, whoopsies, yeah, sure. They just destroyed it in slow stages is all it is. Here's that Braemar Lodge again. And you can see it from the front here. It was just a really cool old hotel. $3 a day. Not too shabby. Your rooms, you're going to have a lot of windows in your rooms. You're going to have a lot of fresh air pulled in from these. And who knows, at one time you may have had some free electricity. Or something. I don't know. Sorry, I'm starting to rush through these. There's a few more to go, and then we're done. There's another land titles office photo. You can see this a little better. But see, again, you got to go up all these little rinky-dink steps to get into this tiny little door. And then you get these little, really low windows underneath these full-size windows. Like, get on out of here. Like, I bet you if you dug down 6 feet, these could have been full-size windows, and then this would have been one of those big, huge doors, you know? And they just retrofitted it. Again, I'm speculating, but and here's the other side of 8th Avenue, Stevens Avenue, where we saw that Alexander building with the turret with the conical dome. Some of these buildings on Stephen Avenue or 8th Avenue here are still here. And if you want to see them in present day, check out my Stephen Avenue 1,000 subscriber Mudflood walkabout tour. I think that's the... Jeez, I'm not even sure what that building is. Might be the Palliser Hotel. Oh, there we go. Well, we've reached the end. We've reached the end. This is a nice way to finish it off, actually, here with the cop directing traffic right on Stephen Avenue. So there we go. I know, right? It's a shame, really. It really is a shame, especially when it's like, oh, what happened to that office building? Oh, we tore it down. Well, why'd you tear it down? Oh, because we needed to build an office building. Well, get the hell out of here with that bullshit. And they always try to tell you, well, it's cheaper to tear down the old ones and build a new one than it is to renovate and add on to the old ones. Like, how? Aren't you doubling your construction budget just for the demolition? I mean, I'm not in construction, so I don't know, but I'm just trying to use my noggin to make sense of why they would tear down a hospital to build a hospital or tear down an office building to build an office building. Yeah, like who knows what would be on those buildings, right? Angels, or they call them gargoyles in a couple of articles. And I think there was one article that actually had photos of them. Did I even bookmark that? No, I didn't. But let me just see if I can type something in here and real quick as a tangent. Let's see what it tells me. Got another article from the Avenue magazine, the same one that did the 8 buildings that are no longer here. So let me just share this article real quick. This is the story of the Calgary Herald gargoyles. So they look like little monkeys almost. Well, this one does anyway. These impish icons of a storied past and keep popping up in unexpected places. Impish? You call that impish? Looks like nightmare fuel to me, but okay. The two Herald staff gargoyles on display at Fort Calgary are actually smaller reproductions of the real thing. Aha! So these are in Fort Calgary, but they're reproductions. Okay. On the corner of First Street and 7th Avenue Southwest once stood the original office of the Calgary Herald. Its walls adorned with over 600 gargoyles of all descriptions. The plethora of creatures, including fish, crabs, monkeys, okay, there you go, lizards, were sculpted in 1911, 1912 by Mark V. Marshall of England's Royal Dalton. Really? Spared no expense, eh? You couldn't just get some local craftsmen to carve them. No, you got to get some jackhole from Royal Dalton in England. A famous ceramic and pottery company no longer in operation. Oh, of course not. So we can't verify this in any way. As anyone with cursory knowledge of the pieces will tell you, the standout pieces in this collection are undoubtedly the stylized caricatures of the paper's staff. Really? With everyone from the editor to the cleaning lady being memorialized in stone. Yeah, they're going to pay big bucks for Royal Dalton to make a gargoyle of the cleaning lady. What the hell kind of... Have you ever heard anything as ridiculous as what we're reading right now? Oh, these clearly animal gargoyles are meant to represent people that worked at the newspaper, including the cleaning lady, apparently. 3 of the gargoyles kept in Fort Calgary storage. Okay, in 1966, the building suffered the first loss of some of its gargoyles when parts of its brick and terracotta facing began crumbling into football-sized chunks and had to be replaced with a sleeker and safer marble cladding. By 1973, the old Herald building, then known as the Greyhound building, faced the wrecking ball and public outcry convinced the city to save and store many of the gargoyles. In 1994, the city decided to keep a handful of the representative pieces and auction off the rest of the gargoyles with proceeds to benefit the Calgary Historic Preservation Fund. Today, these impish figures can be found scattered around Calgary in people's homes, backyards, various institutions, and occasionally eBay. Last month, a number were taken down from their home on the side of the Len Wary building in preparation for redevelopment in the area, continuing their century-long game of musical chairs. When was this article written, by the way? Don't know. Oh, there we go. February 2015. Okay, so quite a while ago. 8 years ago. Of the more than 200 currently accounted for, 7 can be found in the storage area of Fort Calgary, including fish, lizards, crabs, and most of a pair of monkeys, all won at the city's 1994 auction. The fort's display of a pair of the Herald Staff see, now they're insisting that it's Herald Staff. Herald Staff gargoyles are merely convincing small-scale reproductions. Interestingly, Sarah Jane Grutzner, the fort's president and CEO, personally bid $2,500 during the 1994 auction for a crab gargoyle, which currently rests in her home garden. Yeah, I'll pay $3,000 for this thing. That's a 100-year-old gargoyle, and then I'll just throw it in my backyard. A steal when you consider the gargoyle's mask listed on eBay in 2007, asking price of $8,000. Is that US or Canadian? Because $8,000 Canadian is about $28 US, eh? Ha ha ha. Anyway, that's interesting. I'll post a link for that in the description as well after the fact, if you want to check it out. But yeah, so there you go. The Royal Dalton. Yeah, cleaning lady gargoyle. Of course. Didn't you know that any old world Gothic city building like Chicago, New York, it's going to have cleaning lady gargoyles, or maybe a janitor. It doesn't have to be a lady. Let's not be sexist here now, people. Come on now. Could be a cleaning man. Could be a custodian, cleaning, janitor. Homunculus. Yeah, those were just creepy and weird looking gargoyles. I don't know. I wonder how flattered the cleaning lady and the newspaper staff were of all these gargoyles fashioned after them, even though they're fugly fish and monkeys. But anyway, okay. Who knows? Well, thanks, Vince. And thanks for throwing in some links and whatnot as well. A little bit of research. That's very good. Very good. Thank you very much. So how's everybody doing? Once again, thank you very much for joining me here. Frankie, New West Reset, and this is New West Reset Live, episode 28. Just after 9:30 p.m. local time, Mountain Time here in Calgary. We're looking at bygone greatness here. We looked at a couple of articles of some old buildings that are no longer in the Calgary city area, Calgary city, as well as got on a little bit of a tangent, but sort of related with the gargoyles from the old Calgary Herald building. And then we looked at a bunch of pictures from a file that I created of some of the bygone greatness of some of these beautiful old, mostly sandstone, which is funny because, again, it goes against the city of Calgary narrative. After the Great Calgary Fire, they said, that's it. Build all these buildings out of stone from now on. Stone or brick. So then supposedly they start building all these beautiful buildings out of these big blocks of stone. And then 30, 40, 50, 60 years later, we got to knock them down. Really? After all that trouble of changing your building codes as a result of fire and changing your building materials, mandated in the city's laws, city bylaws or whatever. So then you're going to have a different type of construction worker on your payroll. Now you're not only going to have wooden framers and roofers, but you're going to have stone workers. now working for your construction company, which is a whole different skill set. You're going to have to go through all of that only to a few decades later knock down the buildings. Knock down a hospital so you can build a hospital or whatever. Terry says, if I have nightmares of gargoyles singing Nickelback, I'm coming after you, Frankie. Oh, wow.
Boom, 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 boom. What do you mean? Frankie Fingers is New West Reset? Frankie Fingers is New West Reset. What don't you understand about this, Uri, okay? I'm trying to tell you. Frankie Fingers, New West Reset. New West Reset, Frankie Fingers, okay? So what you're saying is it's the same guy. Same guy. Yes, it's the same guy, you mutt. I'm trying to tell you. Frankie Fingers is New West Reset. Frankie Fingers, New West Reset. Alright, I'll go subscribe. Alright. Jeez.
Oh, just having a little fun over here. Just having a little fun. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's exactly an internet person. Fire just takes longer to burn through the sandstone and the bricks. So you have more time to get out before it crumbles to the ground in a burning heap of stone. It's funny because aren't most pizza ovens made out of brick? And, don't you make fires in those brick ovens to make your pizza? I don't know. Yeah, oh yeah. Well, yeah, I think a lot of these buildings, I mean, they couldn't have been easy to build with those turrets and towers and arches and conical domes, only to knock them down 3 or 4 decades later. There's got to be more of a reason than, we had to knock down an office building to build an office building. There's got to be some kind of scams in there for insurance or something. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I just who knows? Who knows? I wish I knew. Not only do I wish I knew, but I wish I wish time machines were real. I could go back then and smack some of these books. Don't tear that down, or you're going to get 5 fingers to the face from Frankie Fingers. I'll tell you that. I'll come at you like Joe Pesci in Casino. Jab you in the neck with a ballpoint pen. I'm kidding. I'm not a violent person, but I do wish I had a time machine, and knowing what I know now, go back there and definitely smack some people around. That's for sure. Oh, please don't. Don't quote Nickelback. Now we don't need to see now what you done did to Terry now. Ooh. Oh boy. Yeah, there's funny stuff going on in Utah, and there's funny stuff going on here in southern Alberta. It's fairly similar to what you see in Utah, the narrative with again, we have it's a smaller version of, but the same narrative of the Mormons with their oxens and carts, or even hand carts, coming up here into southern Alberta to establish settlements and build towns that just seem to have popped up out of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere, in the late 1880s here in southwestern Alberta. Where there's nothing, where like nobody lived because it was all like the high desert, much like in Utah. Just really weird. Really, really weird stuff. Anyway, we're coming up on 3 hours here. So I hope everybody's doing well. Once again, thank you everybody for tuning in and joining me here at New West Reset for New West Reset Live, episode 28. Really appreciate it. If you haven't already, maybe consider giving a guy a like or a thumbs up. And of course, I really appreciate you folks supporting me in other ways over on BitChute and Rumble and MeWe. Of course, if there's anything that you want me to have a look at here in Canada, feel free to shoot a guy an email. My email address is down in the description below the video as well. I've been getting a lot of emails to cover subjects for the Knucklehead show for Chris and myself over at Old World Exploration as well. So, a couple things coming up for the channel, as just mentioned, just now. A guy just now mentioned it. The Knucklehead show with Chris from Old World Exploration. It's a monthly show that we do. Episode 5 coming up here tomorrow. Well, Saturday. It might be later today for some of you, depending where you're watching from. But Saturday, 3 p.m. Mountain Time, 2 p.m. Pacific, which I think is 5 p.m. Eastern. The Knucklehead Show, Episode 5, we're going to be looking a little closer at some of what we just had a little bit of a taste of here tonight with some of the old hotels. We're going to be looking at the railroad hotels that were built from coast to coast across Canada, supposedly by CN, which is Canadian National Railroad, and CP, Canadian Pacific Railroad. And some of these bloody hotels that we're going to be looking at tomorrow, they are like massive castles. And some of them are built out in the middle of nowhere in the Rocky Mountains here in Canada. In fact, a number of them are in what are almost what you would think of as inaccessible areas of the country back in the 1880s, 1890s, early 1900s when these were built. It's going to be incredible. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be an epic live stream. It's going to be probably around 2 or 3 hours. I found some old video footage of some of the one of the old hotels too, so we'll have a look at that tomorrow as well with Chris at Old World Exploration. So make sure you're you're subscribed and you hit all the little things to get your notifications or whatever. Just keep an eye on the channel. Keep your ocular sphericals peeled onto the channel here. Of course, please go over to Old World Exploration's channel. Subscribe to him as well. Let me quickly throw the link in the chat for you as well for his channel. So you can go and support him over there. Here we go. Here we go. We do them once a month. So as mentioned, that is coming up tomorrow. What else I got coming up here for the channel? Well, of course, we had a sneak peek at your midweek every Wednesday. Vintage footage video. Every Friday I go live, and every Sunday, boots on the ground. So coming up this Sunday for your boots on the ground, I've got a twofer for you because the weather hasn't been great here lately. We had that hot spell, which was nice. I went out and did Chinatown and a couple of other places, and then we got rain and wind for the last few days. So a guy will go out and shoot in the snow way before I'll go out in the rain. It's just easier to shoot in the snow, actually, than the rain. I mean, the water and your phone or your camera, they're not friends at all, right? So it tends to like shut it down. So actually today, before going live, after I finished work, I went out and shot some video. So we've got 2 places to look at in the same video. So that's coming up Sunday. Still planning on doing the Heritage Park this summer before it's over. In fact, I'm pretty sure Vince and I are going to try to meet up there together. Be happy to be locked in an asylum with us. Well, be careful what you wish for, my friend. But yeah, going to do the Heritage Park. We did the Fort Calgary this summer already. Going to do the Heritage Park with Vincent. I'm still planning to head up to Edmonton to do some boots on the ground up there of the legislature grounds, as well as a couple of old world buildings up there. I want to do that this summer. If I can't, then I'll definitely keep it in my pocket for next summer. But I do want to. I got my vacation coming up here, 2 weeks vacation. So I'm going to try to squeeze that Edmonton trip, head up there to Edmonton and get that in this summer. And who knows? Who knows what else I'll do? A couple of more road trips. Myself, I don't drive, but occasionally I'll take a road trip with my pops or my brother-in-law or something out on a fishing trip or something. And if I can convince or coerce them to take a little detour through one of these little prairie towns, and I'll usually either hang out the window or get them to drop me off on the corner, and I'll walk up and down the old-timey main street of these little towns. So look for that as well. And the usual shenanigans. So yeah. So if you have any questions for me before I sign off here in the next few minutes, just let me know in the chat. Otherwise, thank you very much for, once again, shooting in, joining me here. Once again, you can also find me on BitChute, Rumble, MeWe. There was another place that somebody mentioned, asked if I was on there, and I can't remember what it was now. Some other thing, some other platform. I can't remember what it was now, though. It wasn't Locals. It was something else. I can't remember. But anyway, is what it is. Telegram. There you go. Yes, that's what it was. Thank you, to Telegram. Guess a guy should look into that. I don't know. Are there a lot of people over there on Telegram? Seems like BitChute's going quite well for me over there. There's a lot of folks over there on BitChute. Rumble is I started it just recently, but that's starting to take off. But BitChute's pretty busy over there. But Telegram, I've never been over there, so I'll have to have a look. In fact, I'm gonna bookmark it right now. Otherwise, a guy's gonna forget again, because I'm getting long in the tooth. I'm in my mid-50s, and memory not quite what it used to be, I guess. Telegram. Oh, that's Telegram Messenger. All right, Telegram. Just Telegram itself. Dang it. Okay, there we go. I'll bookmark that, and I'll have a look at it and see what's what. And speaking of bookmarking stuff, again, all the links of everything that we covered today, I've bookmarked, and I will put them in the description as well. So if you're joining me after the fact, if you didn't get a chance to watch this shenanigans unfold here live and you're watching after the fact, first of all, thanks. Appreciate it. Second of all, then all the links for you will be down there. All right, so there you go. I think that is it. I think I'm getting ready to wind this thing down. If you're hearing a funny noise in the background, it's my stomach's rumbling, even though I had dinner before I went live. I had dinner. I made a big old batch of homemade chili. Was it last night? No, night before. Chili con carne with beans and some beef in there, and it's delicious homemade chili. I use 5 kinds of beans in my chili, by the way. And then I still throw meat in there because it's Alberta. I got to throw some ground beef, some Alberta beef in there. Mushrooms, onion, green peppers, red peppers, all kinds of good stuff. Anyways, I had that for dinner again tonight with what I'll do is I'll steam some rice, and I'll put the rice in the bottom of my bowl and then just pour the chili over top and have chili with rice. Sometimes I'll have it with cornbread. Usually when I make gumbo, I have cornbread with the gumbo. That's a nice combination. And then I have rice with the chili. But, it's kind of like rice and beans, sort of, right? Oh, that could be. It might be that I'm thirsty, too. That's a good point. Isabella Live saying you might be thirsty. That might be why my tummy's rumbling. But I think it's just because I tend to eat dinner later. I tend to eat supper or dinner, whatever you want to call it, more like around 7:30 even. But I had it at 5, so it might be that I'm thirsty, but also just hungry again. Maybe a guy needs to treat himself to a dessert. right? Maybe I need to have myself a little bit of a dessert with a cup of tea or something, maybe. I don't know. Vince says, I hope your roommate ate the same thing as you. Yeah, because of all them beans. All them beans. There's our rooms are on opposite ends of the hall, at least, and they're separated by our in-suite storage room / linen closet. So at least there's a barrier or a buffer zone in there. Chicken and Caesar sauce. Yeah, yeah. I'll have that sometimes. I'll make myself a Caesar salad, but just with the store-bought Caesar salad dressing, because a guy can't be bothered to make the Caesar salad dressing from scratch. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but I'll make myself a Caesar salad with the store-bought dressing, but then I'll put chicken on top of it. I quite like that combination of the chicken Caesar. It's quite delicious, actually. That does sound good. Cornbread with honey butter. Yeah, that sounds good, actually. You know what, though? I like molasses with my cornbread. But I usually have gumbo and cornbread, yeah. Usually I make a chicken and sausage gumbo with shrimp, and then I'll have cornbread with it. But I still have rice with my gumbo as well. I pour the gumbo over rice, but then I like the cornbread with the gumbo because the corn is kind of sweet. So when you make the cornbread, it's kind of sweet-ish, so it offsets the spicy savoriness of the gumbo. My grandma taught me how to make gumbo, real Acadian style gumbo. I even throw okra in there, just so that it's a real authentic, like, you know. All right, so I think that is it. Ready to wind it down. All this talking of food and my stomach rumbling. That's it. It's time for dessert. Oh, thank you very much, Freya. Appreciate that. Yeah, tomorrow, 3 p.m. Mountain, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. The Knucklehead Show, episode 5. It's gonna be great. In fact, you know what? I'll put the link in the chat before I sign off here as well, just to make it easier for you fine folks to make your way on over there tomorrow. I'll put the link for it for my channel. Nothing against my partner in crime, Chris, over Old World Exploration, but you know, I'm gonna I'm trying to get better at promoting myself over here, if you see what I'm saying. There it is there. So that'll be the link for Knucklehead's show from my channel, live streaming tomorrow. So I think that is it. I think that is going to seal the deal here tonight for Frankie at New West Reset and New West Reset Live, episode 28 here on this Friday, August the 25th. So thank you very much, everybody, for shooting in, joining me here for this one. Appreciate it as always. Thank you very, very much. Again, links for everything will be in the description below for all of these. Three articles, 2 or 3 articles that we looked at with the, I don't know, is there a dry eye in the house for some of these beautiful old buildings that were destroyed needlessly? Again, either by wrecking ball or fire or what other cockamamie excuse they can come up with. But I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed spending time with you. A little bit of a long one here tonight, but there was lots to look at. But, you know, geez, I can just go on. You're a fine bunch, and I really appreciate all of you. So thank you very much. And, yeah, as mentioned, that's going to seal the deal here tonight. So let me know what you think down below. If you're watching this after the fact, just beep, boop, bop on the old keyboard there for me. Do all the other stuff, all the other YouTube things. And until the next one, have a good one and take care out there. All right, everybody? Thanks a lot. We'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.